Welcome to Sports Buds Hockey Podcast, where two friends come together to discuss all things hockey and where everyone's opinion is appreciated. Please welcome your hosts, Merrick and Collin Simpson.
Hello and welcome to Sports Buds Hockey Podcast. This is Season 3, Episode 21. My name is Merrick and with me, as always, Collin Simpson. How you doing today, Simps?
Doing great, Mav. How about yourself? Well, I know
fantastic. You know exactly how I'm doing. Oh, it's 2-0 LA Kings. They're never going to come back. The Oilers are done. Draisaitl, McDavid are overrated. All right, well, here we go. So 2 more games. Huge win in overtime. It was fantastic. It was so much fun to watch, even if it was horribly nerve-wracking. And it was a tough one. You kept believing they were going to come back. But you sure wish they could do it a little earlier than 28 seconds.
Yeah, definitely making it a bit of a nail biter. It's not the first time they've obviously done this. He's made these comebacks, so it's not like he didn't think it was going to happen. But, it did look kind of like going into the beginning of the third that maybe LA was just going to play a tight, just complete defensive hockey system. And, it's a game of statistics. How many times can you come back, right? There's always that one time where you just didn't quite make it. So, taking as long as they did to do it. Obviously, I had faith that they were going to do it only because I'd made the prediction that they were going to win in overtime.
I've never been more happy to have you be right.
Yeah, and my wife was even saying to me, she's like, "Oh no, looks not looking good." I'm like, "No, I made a prediction last night on the podcast that the Oilers are going to go to overtime and win this, so they're coming back in this." And then as you continue to watch the game, I was like more and more going, you could just feel the momentum swing, right? Like it just kept coming and coming. And I watched a clip today from the LA coach getting right pissed off in a news conference because this one reporter kept asking him about do you think you should do something different in the third period rather than just play non-attacking defensive hockey because it's kind of backfired? And the guy was getting really mad going, "Oh, you always ask the same question." Yeah, the reporter goes back, "Yeah, because it happened 3 times."
Yeah, 3 times in 4 games. Like, they're lucky that Danault shot went in the first game. The way they were pressing and coming hard in that one, you would think that they probably had a pretty good shot of pushing the pace and winning that first game too. So obviously there should be a change. One of the things I'm hearing a lot about right now is the usage of the actual players on the Kings. Everything, it sounds like they're going to 3 lines and 4D really fast, whether it's most of the game or all game or whatever kind of thing. So you're going to see that maybe those guys are dropping off, that they're just not having the legs anymore at the end. You and I have talked about it. I mean, Drew Doughty's a warrior and everything else, but he's also 35 years old with a lot of miles on him. And, that's going to weigh on you at the end of a game.
Well, and to another point, 37-year-old Anze Kopitar has been an absolute non-factor because the game is moving too fast for him. And if you're playing only that many guys, I mean, he's shifting more than he probably should in order to be effective come the third period. And you saw it in that game. One team looked like a bunch of 20-year-olds playing a bunch of 40-year-olds at one point. It just did not look like the other team was in it. And you know in their heart they were in it. Not like LA didn't want to win that game bad. And don't get me wrong, I will say that Hiller did have kind of a good comeback in that press conference as well. He's like, "Listen, if Quentin Byfield gets that puck out at the end of the game and doesn't ridiculously just turn it over to Bouchard," which he should never. It's the easiest chip off of boards I've ever seen. The game's over. It's 3-1 LA. So he's not wrong in that sense. Everybody's on him and stuff like that because it's 2-2, but all he needs is one player to not do something stupid for 4 seconds. And it's over. It's 3-1 series. It's a tough comeback.
See how tight these margins are. It was Fiala, I think, ripped it off the post earlier in that period.
Twice. 2 posts.
Yeah, in the same game. That's right. And, just little things. And any of those could have been. And again, you look at it and think, well, it wouldn't really have mattered early or whatever because they would have come back or they could have. But how many times can you go down 3-0 and really believe that you're going to come back? Right? Or you got you're starting to put the guys together earlier because it's not 2-1, it's 3-1 in the first period, or 2-0 in the first period again, or whatever. So
Yeah.
then you put McDavid and Draisaitl together. Now you got more issues there, and they're just playing longer and more minutes. So now they're more tired and they're not as effective at the end of the game. Like, there's a lot of things that it's a game of inches, right? As they say. I know they say that for baseball, but most sports are the same.
Yeah,
One thing.
it's
Go ahead.
definitely that close, right? These little simple plays, and again, some of these plays go back to the thing we talked about earlier, and how tired you are. Could Byfield not chip a puck out and not think? Like, if you've played sports and you get really tired, it's very hard to make good decisions when you're tired, right? So when you get in those situations, the crowd's going crazy, you're really tired. You're really nervous. You're trying to hold on, and they made 2 or 3 plays in a row there where they couldn't get the puck out, and it was on the one there, obviously, that cost them. Or I think, like, it just, every single time this happens, you've got to have the ability to get it done. Simple plays, chip a puck out, and I know Byfield will be thinking about this for many, many years. If they don't turn this back around and stop the momentum and stop the bleeding and win this series, he'll be thinking about that one play for the next, who knows how many years of his career.
Well, I mean, you look at it. I hope that for any young player, I would hope that they don't linger too long, because it's always the end of the game that gets all the credit. It's always the end of the game that gets the full blame, the full anything. But Fiala hits that shot 6 minutes earlier. It doesn't matter. It's 4-2, even if they do get one more at the end, like whatever. And I mean, the last game, they iced it 3 times before they tied the game, right? There's always these chances, these things. And obviously, I think it'll go back. If anything's going to linger in this one, if the Kings lose, it's going to be the decision to challenge in game 3.
Yeah,
You're up 2-0.
that one's hurt them. I think that's put them behind the 8 ball in every decision now. I think
Really, yeah.
so much pressure has been built on them now to not almost screw this up.
Yeah.
Like, it felt like he was on easy mode after game 2, and then game 3, there was a lot of mess ups, and that including one of them, and now it's just pressure. And like I said, watching the coach get frazzled, you should be just going, it's 2-2, I'm not worried.
Yeah.
But he looked frazzled in the thing, and I think that's what a lot of the players are looking like, and that's why I honestly think this could be almost a reverse sweep.
Yeah.
Like, I honestly feel if Edmonton could go in, keep the momentum alive, and win tonight, then they're going to come back to Edmonton and clean it out, and it'll be a 4-2 Oilers victory. And I think too much momentum's built up. LA looks like a team that should be on game 7 right now. They're skating slow now. They look tired, tired.
Yeah. Yeah. By comparison, they absolutely look like the more tired team, and they're not way ahead. And it's not game 7 where both teams are going to be pretty much equal or anything else. They just look a little bit beat up for all it takes. I saw some stats actually from Jason Gregor. He was talking about the number of hits they're taking because they're playing 4 defensemen more often. The Oilers, it was around 8, 7, 8. Kulak, I think, was like 12. The rest were all 6, 7, 8 hits they're all taken in this series. And then for the Kings, it was 16, 15, and 2 at 14 or something like that. So just more hits. They're taking more abuse because that's what you get when you only play 4 guys. They're playing more minutes. It was records for, I think, Gavrikov, Edmondson. I think a bunch of them. It was the most they've ever played in a game on Wednesday night, or on Sunday night. You're seeing all that stuff. Whereas even in the overtime, the Oilers were running all 4 lines. Not as often. You saw McDavid and Draisaitl out there a little bit more often, but over the boards goes Janmark and Frederick, and all those guys are all playing. So,
but I think in that scenario, that's always going to happen when you're playing a team like Edmonton, especially on the road. I think more than normal, you have to shore up your defense a little, because you're like, how often can I put third line out there? How often can a 5 and 6 go out there and they get last change? Like, it's so risky to constantly just be like, oh crap, McDavid's on our 5-6 again.
Well, you just got an icing
Draisaitl's on my
call.
5-6 again, right? So
You got our ice.
You're constantly putting those guys back out, going, well, this way at least if I'm caught out, yes, they're a little more tired, but Doughty and Gavrikov and some of these guys who are more tired is still better than your 5-6 fully not gassed. You know what I mean? I think that's the approach that some of these teams take when you're playing teams that can kind of come at you with different levels. It's different if you only have one loaded up top line, because then you could be like, okay, I can guarantee that loaded top line is going to go against 1, 2, or 3 and 4, and 5 and 6 I can hide a little to get some minutes.
Yep.
But if you're spreading them out and they're coming flying at you, then you shore up. But I think that is starting to cost them a little. And it's the concept of really like a bunch of sprinters, because the way LA came out in the first 2 games, a bunch of sprinters who got into the wrong race and realized it was a marathon. And it's starting to show, right? They're starting to look gassed.
I feel like LA just they really converted on the big mistakes by Edmonton at the beginning. And they've gotten a little better at that. Not perfect by any stretch, but they've gotten a little better. They've gotten some, as you mentioned, I think a couple podcasts ago, sometimes it's the shot. Like sometimes you give it away the exact same way, but this guy picked a corner and scored. This guy hit the post. This guy shot it over the net. This guy went wide. Like sometimes you're giving it away the same way, just so you don't pay for it. So I think that they're definitely still making mistakes, but I think they've gotten better. At the same time, you mentioned it earlier as well, and I hate to keep giving you credit. It hurts somewhere deep. But you talked about the special teams. In the last few games, I think LA is maybe 1 for 5 or maybe 0 for 5 in the last couple games, and Edmonton is 3 for 5, I think, in the last couple games. So that big swing, right? You're talking about a big difference in those games and stuff, and what turns out could be the difference in the series overall. So if we continue to see that, well, let's get to it. One thing I did want to mention, you talked about loading up the top line. So obviously, Draisaitl and McDavid were together. They were playing with Perry quite a bit. But what really impressed me was Nuge, Hyman, and Kane together. I thought that line really, like, they put enough pressure on that they were dangerous and looked like they could score goals and looked like they could capitalize on things that they were hemming them in their zone as much as Draisaitl and McDavid were. So if they can keep those two lines together, you're loaded up obviously with one, but you got a real good second line there that could make some plays for you and cause a lot of havoc too. So I think it'll be good. So what?
Yeah, they were definitely gaining in some confidence, that line. Those guys, like, they've been kind of invisible most of the series so far. Kane, Nuge, good players, obviously. Obviously, Kane's just trying to get back into the thick of things. Right, it's going to take him a bit. Maybe he takes a whole series before he's kind of back to his normal ways. One thing I've definitely noticed, knowing that he's not back to normal, is there's been a lot of scrums behind the net and stuff like that, and he's completely kept himself out of those type of things. So, like, you could tell he's just not quite in game thing. He's probably got still some mind on some injuries and stuff like that. He's kind of making sure, okay, let's not get myself into anything silly. Let's just make sure I just slowly get back in the thick of things. And it's starting to come around. Nuge just starting to get, he's not killing it by no means offensively, but like you said, he's always been good at cycle play. Those two guys work really well for cycle play. And as much as it pains me to say, Corey Perry's been playing well with the top line. Doing his usual nonsense stuff as per usual. Could probably use a couple penalties out there, but
I don't even see that at all.
But it's working. Right?
I don't
the fact
see
is,
that
it's
at
working.
all. He is clean. I heard there was a rumor he was up for the Lady Byng. I haven't seen the announcement yet, but we'll see what happens with that.
But you know what I mean? Like, it works. Now it's just hopefully they don't have the Corey Perry curse of wherever he goes, they just don't win things. But
well, they lose in the finals. Yeah. Well, I mean, 5 times. It's a tough one to get to.
But when you're talking about earlier, the turnovers, again, I do believe the turnovers, that there was one. There was almost an identical goal to most of the goals LA's have scored. Defenseman kind of flubs it out. I think it hits a stick, though, up the boards. It was just a poor play off the boards. LA guy picks it up. He's like 6 feet from the net, buries it. And you did talk about it, the sense of, the shots. I don't think the shots have been as good on these turnovers. I believe in games 1 and 2, they were just in corners. But, again, Pickard was great again, in my opinion. There was a lot of these turnovers that easily could have turned into... It could have been a massive lead in the beginning, in my opinion. LA could have had a bunch more. Pickard made a lot of those saves on these turnovers. He's hiding very well these mistakes. But you got to stop making them. Pickard's not good enough to keep doing it every game, 40 saves. I'm sorry. So they got to make sure they clean these up. And then, to a point as well, though, because if LA is as tired as they look, it's hard to be very accurate with shots when you're a bit tired. You're just trying to get it off sometimes, and it's just like
you don't quite get there, right? You're not quite to the spot that you would be at. You don't quite pull it back to your shot. Like, it just doesn't happen the same way when you're a little bit more tired. And so, it's definitely going to be a series. All right, so what's going to happen Game 5?
Well, I think momentum is too big. I know we've harped on it a lot in this one here about where I think the fatigue levels are for each team. I think the fact that the momentum is, too straight for Edmonton, and I feel like LA is definitely second guessing themselves, even though they're trying to talk real confident in the media and stuff like that. Like, oh yeah, we're not worried, blah, blah, blah. I get that to a point, but there's no way anybody who's played a sport, you do second guess yourself a little and how it's going, and you kind of think to yourself, are the hockey gods against you? And there's a reason why we're so superstitious as athletes and stuff like that. You do believe there is more to it always than just the play. Power play going, special teams, we always knew going into the series before we even talked about it after, that the Oilers are just like the Penguins of the 90s and the Oilers in the 80s. These are teams that sometimes can live and die on the special teams, but when they're so good at it, you more often, that's your bread and butter. And in the first two games, LA had kind of completely shut that down. Well, now that's running. So I think this will be the first time loss in LA. I think Edmonton will take it. I think it'll be a much better game from LA overall. I think in the third period, no matter what's happening, they will come after a little more. And I think, unfortunately for them, even though I think that's the right play to not sit back for 20 minutes, I think they're going to get caught out with some of the speed from the Oilers come the third period on like breakaways and stuff like that when they are pushing instead of defending. And I think the Oilers are going to take advantage of that. And they're going to go, okay, let's leave a guy a bit high and see if we can't catch him on 2-on-1s or breakaways. I do have the Oilers. I think they're going to do even better. I don't think we'll see an overtime this time. I think it's going to be an Oilers win tonight by 2 goals. I'm going to go 4-2 Oilers.
Nice. I can definitely get behind that. And once again, rarely, I'm hoping you're right. I think the same. I think it's going to be in this one. I think it's going to be a 2-goal lead as well. I think it's going to be them heading out first this time. I think the Oilers will get the first goal, probably the first couple. I'm tempted by a 2-0 kind of lead for a while, and then probably LA gets one, and then go for a while, either an empty netter or just a late goal, like you said in the third. I'm going to go 3-1, a little tighter checking, a little bit slower, but making sure they've got the lead, and then kind of settle it down and make sure nothing happens. It's real tough. You watch those third periods, right? And all of a sudden it seems like LA is doing nothing but chipping it off the glass every time they can. So you're just sending them back. Give it back to Edmonton, let them come at you again, and wait and see what happens. Not a lot of chances. So as long as they're getting the saves, I think they'll be all right. I think they'll be up by 1 or so, 1 maybe 2, and then just kind of ride it out at the end as well. So here's hoping.
Yeah, and you have to remember, like sometimes when you talk about, I don't care if it's hockey, basketball, whatever sport you're talking about, the best way to defend star players, I don't care if I'm defending Michael Jordan, you know how I defend him the best? Don't let him have the ball. Right? So if I've got the ball, he doesn't have the ball. Once he gets the ball, now it becomes very hard to defend him. So same thing in hockey. This chip it up the boards for 20 minutes and constantly putting the possession back into McDavid's every time, skating up the ice full speed. You're just playing with fire. You don't have to go for goal all the time either. Even if you're LA, you don't have to go for goal. But make a couple nice passes out of the back, get it in the zone, and do some cycle.
Yeah.
And then in your cycle, be ready to turn and skate back right away. Don't allow a 2-on-1. But this whole just chip it out of your own zone and make a change and chip it out. Certain teams you can do that against. But every time McDavid gets the puck in his own zone even, that's where he's almost more dangerous, starting back there. So it's like that's not the ideal play. And we watched it happen over and it was just a matter. I'm just like every single time. So they're going to have to change it up. It should make for a more exciting hockey game because we've always been like exciting, I guess, from the Oilers from the third period, but not much from a hockey perspective.
Yeah.
I like to see a little more end to end to keep it exciting, not just looks like a 10-minute power play for one team.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's why you see like a late penalty is such a huge thing, because now you're basically giving the other team, if you're down, right, and you take a penalty, you're giving the other team like 2 minutes in your zone where you can't do anything. Your best players aren't on the ice, although you have seen the Oilers use McDavid on the penalty kill a little bit just to try to create some of those chances. But your best players typically aren't on the ice, so you're just spending 2 minutes without them touching the puck. Like, that's even if you don't score. Like, if you score, great, but if you don't, it's 2 minutes more off the clock you don't have to worry about. So, yeah, I think it's gonna be a good game, and I agree. I think Edmonton's got the chops to win this one in LA, and then really put the pressure on for next game. So, good talk, Sims. Can't wait to watch the game.
Sounds good. Yep, we'll get back with you guys once we see the 4-2 Oilers win. So I'm right again, hopefully. But
I sure hope you're right again, Sims. When we get back, the next episode, we're going to recap where all the other series are at, kind of go through all that stuff as well. I just wanted to make sure to get this one in about the Oilers and go from there. So there's a lot of series getting close to wrapping up. Some pretty exciting things for all sorts of teams. So we'll touch base on that and stuff as well. So don't forget, if you want to find us, www.sportsbuds.com. You can also find us on Instagram, Sportsbuds Hockey Podcast. And we're obviously, for podcast availability, we are on Spotify, Apple, Google, TuneIn. We're on YouTube. We're a little bit everywhere, so you can find us somewhere. Just remember, it's Sportsbuds, SPORTSBUDZ. So you can find us anywhere. Thanks for doing this, Sims. Great talk.
Take care, Beth.